I got burnt when I was 11 months old from a candle. I was sleeping and then the candle fell on the bed. And then it burnt my fingers, my face, and then the right-hand side. Because my dad left immediately after I got burnt.
How, bro?
Yeah, he was like, oh no, like this is just too much. Even with psychologists, I still felt like that. And I still felt like there's no psychologist that's going to talk to me because are you burnt? And then Jesus Christ came along. And that man, Jesus, oof, he brutalized my entire mindset. And he said to me, I'm going to tell you who you are because you don't know who you are.
How's Itu? How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
You're killing me. But it's good to start the morning with a laugh, eh?
Yes. No, absolutely.
How are you?
I am good. I am honestly good. I'm okay, you know. I come from, as I was saying to you, you know, from a very bad flu. And I think that just like knocked me down for a few weeks, you know, to a point that it even knocked me down mentally. Because at some point I was like, geez, I'm so tired, you know, where you're sending 3 mails like per day, you know, and that's like a lot of work. It's like, oh my God, like there's so much work. But now I'm good. I got myself out of it, you know. Prayed, read my Bible, you know, and now I'm here. I'm conquering each day now.
Prayer always works.
Absolutely.
We thank God. For somebody who's watching us right now and they're looking at you, can you please tell us about yourself? Who are you?
Sure. I am the daughter of the Most High God. That's who I am. I'm a beautiful young woman, you know, who found her identity in Christ. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful children. I'm a motivational speaker, philanthropist through my foundation called the Itumeleng Sekhu Foundation. I'm an author. I'm a podcaster, you know. Geez, I do so many things. You know, but the one that I'm really, really proud of is being the daughter of the Most High God, because that's where I find my solace.
That's where you find your peace.
Yeah.
Jeez, man, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Growing up as Itumeleng, we all have different childhood backgrounds. How was it like growing up as Itumeleng?
Look, for me, my childhood was a little bit, you know, mixed and everything, because I got burnt when I was 11 months old from a candle. I was sleeping and then the candle fell on the bed. And then it burnt my fingers, my face, and then the right-hand side of my hand, which was then literally left behind, you know, in the bed when my mom picked me up. I was then rushed to hospital, stayed in hospital for 3 years. I was in a coma for 3 months. And from 11 months until I was around 15 years, I've had over 104 surgeries. So my childhood was hospital, maybe home here and there, and school. So it was basically hospital and school. And then I'd go home maybe like once in a while. So the school that I went to was a boarding school called Hope School in Westliff. And I was always at school. If I was not at school, I was always in hospital. So every single school holidays, I would be at the hospital, you know. It was crazy. Like sometimes I would have like 6 or 7 operations, you know, at once, you know.
Jeez, man.
It was kind of crazy, but also I was a child, you know, so that was my reality, you know. My mom, at the time, we lived in a place called Makapanstad in Hammanskraal. And
wait.
Yes.
Makapanstad, Hammanskraal.
Yes.
You're from Hammanskraal.
Makapan.
Well, I'm good for Marukulung.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we from,
yes.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I got burnt ko Matibestad at my grandmother's place, which is not too far from Makapan. And then we then moved to Makapanstad. So there, what my mom then did was that she then built like a nursery school so that the other kids can get to know me better, So like that was my childhood. So the kids that came to our nursery school, we sort of like grew up together, So it wasn't weird, Growing up in like Makapan, it was never, oh my God, there's that child and then there's us. You know what I'm saying? We were all integrated very beautifully because of that nursery school that my mom had created. And then we moved to Soshanguve in 2003. And then, my mom has been there ever since.
You moved to Soshanguve in 2003. When you stayed in Hammanskraal, you got all the support, and there was no that thing of, oh yeah, this one is different. And take me through Soshanguve, because now you meet new people there.
Yeah.
How were they accepting you?
Sure. Oh, Soshanguve was... So when we moved to Soshanguve, we moved to Block WW, ne? We stayed there for a while, and then my sister then passed away. That very, I think the very next month that we had moved in, and then my sister then passed away. But also the people that we had moved next to were people that were working with my mom. So Soshanguve is also very different to like Makapanstad, because like Makapanstad, everybody knows, everybody, how fit to, like you are like, whereas Soshanguve is, but the ponanyana, man, you know what I mean? Like you can walk past a yard without greeting, So like we would always go to my mother's colleagues and that was it. So like we never really got to know other people, which was very weird, especially for Black people, so that, Ubuntu thing that we had learned from like Makapanstad, it wasn't there, go like Block WW. And then from there, then we moved to Block G, which is where like she is now still. And Block G, I remember moving to there and I was like, I don't want to get to know anybody. I just want to lock myself in the house. So I would go home every weekends. So from Fridays until Sunday. And I would just be in the house the whole time. The people that I did start getting to know were people that would come to the house, to come and see my mom, like my siblings, and etc. So what my mom actually did was, so at school, I was very smart, so I was very good in mathematics, accounting, things like that. So my mom knew this other woman, grandmother, and this grandmother was staying with her grandchild, Ndazi. So my mom like would go to this woman's house, and Ndazi had a problem with mathematics, or they pretended like she did, So like my mom basically said to Ndazi, hey, I actually have a daughter and she is afraid of like leaving the house, Can you please go to her and tell her that you need help with maths, And then the following weekend, then like she came through, and then she's like, "Hey, I need help with maths, and like your mom was telling me that you're very, And then I was like, "Yeah, sure," And then I started helping her, and then before I knew it, we were now starting to go out. She would be like, "Friend, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. I was like, no, man, come on, let's go, you know? So I started getting to know people through her, you know? So it was people that knew her that would then eventually know me. You know what I mean? So then her friends sort of like became my friends. And then from there, and then we got to know these other guys, you know, and they were like, you know what, like you guys are the cool gang. And we were also bullied really in Soshanguve because we were called all sorts of names, you know. So we were actually outcasted because we were called coconuts and, you know, black people trying to be white people, like things like that, you know. So it was just like, what? White people living in black people's skins, you know what I mean? So like we were sort of like outcasted from the get-go. And then these other guys were like, no, you know what? You guys are the cool gang. We like you guys. And we just started hanging with them. And honestly, I appreciate that relationship so much because one, I got to know how a lot of guys think, you know, which prevented me from doing a lot of things, you know. Like dating a lot, you know. I broke my virginity very late, you know, because of having a friendship with these guys, because they would be like, yay, we will educate you, girl, you know? And I was like, you know what? I don't want this precious, sacred thing to just be taken by just like a fool, like these guys. Yes, you know what I mean? It's such a precious thing for me. And then I became a born-again Christian, you know, in matric. So it was even like, where's now? You know, it was just like, oh, no, sorry, I'm a Christian, you know.
Jeez, man. It's crazy. You know, growing up as Justice, I had multiple encounters with bullying. Young boys used to bully me a lot. And I didn't know how to deal with that. And I used to lock myself in the room. At some point, like I didn't even want to go to school.
Sure.
But you speak about bullying. How were you dealing with that?
I didn't. I couldn't deal with it. I mean, my first incident, I was in grade 9 in class, and a fellow learner of mine said to me, "You're so burnt, you look like a franchise meat," you know? And then like the whole class like started laughing, you know? And that like started to trend, and that was a thing, you know. So here I am, this young girl, you know, who is still trying to find her own beauty, you know, identity. And then here's this boy who just crashes it immediately. And then I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, damn, he's actually right, you know. And that crippled my self-esteem. That crippled my self-esteem to a point where I even tried to commit suicide. That was my first suicide. When I was 9, my second suicide attempt, I was 15 years old. And then my last suicide attempt, I was in grade 11 and I took 300 pills and I drank them and I said, "Hi, Mom. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your sacrifices, but I just don't want to be here." I drank those pills. And, oh well, nothing happened, you know? I mean, I'm grateful now, you know, but then I was like, damn, what is happening? You know? I mean, at the time, people were just dying from like 50 pills. I took 300, you know? But I think the major thing for me that I really want to touch on is beauty, you know? And how beauty in its own facet has been distorted, you know, in a sense that the word beauty is actually a Latin word called beauté, which means to glow, right? So beauty means to glow. But now what the media has created beauty to be is actually far from what beauty actually is, right? Which then means that nobody is as beautiful as the media says they are. That's why they even have to filter models, right? You're a size 26 and they're still filtering you. Why? But now what that creates is that has created the distortion of the word beauty, which then cripples people's self-esteem, which then cripples people's confidence, which then makes people do things that they think that when they do this thing, that it will make them more beautiful, And I'll make an example. For example, there are some women who will call themselves crusty because they're not wearing makeup. Oh my God, I'm so crusty.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you crusty? Because you're not wearing makeup? Because you don't have lipstick on? Who has said you are crusty? Can you see how the mindset has shifted women to believe that they themselves are not enough, that they themselves are not worthy, that they themselves are not beautiful? So please, how could a woman with a 70% fully fledged scar face think that she would ever be beautiful?
Would you say beauty is a substance that it's within the inside?
Absolutely. And when you start feeling it from within, then you start to glow. And now when you start to glow, then you start being beautiful. Because of now you're glowing, you're feeling beautiful. You are feeling like, oh my God, I am the most beautiful woman here on earth. And there are certain things that I have intentionally choose to do. Yeah. And one of them is not to wear makeup. I never wear makeup. Why? Because I want to show the girl next door to say that, hey, honey, you are beautiful just the way you are. With that pimple on your face, you are still very, very beautiful. And I think one of the very few times when I did wear makeup was on my wedding day. And honestly, I just felt like, why is this thing so heavy? It's so hot. And I'm like, what is happening? And I think for me, it was a reminder of how much we filter ourselves even. We wear masks because we want to fit into what society says beauty is. But I think most people that have found their beauty, in most cases, they don't wear makeup.
That's actually very powerful, actually.
Yeah.
Like it's the truth.
Yeah. They'll wear it here and there.
Yeah.
But they're not defined by the makeup. There are people that are defined by makeup. And when they're not wearing it, they feel like they are not beautiful. And I'm like, honey.
It's like I'm beautiful only when I'm wearing makeup.
Yeah.
If I'm not wearing makeup, so and so cannot see me because
then I'm crusty. They literally call themselves crusty. It's like, oh, I'm so crusty. It's like, honey, how I tlapa? O tlapi like it. Then you're not crusty.
But it's unfair, man, for people to say, because some women, they like, I wear makeup because I want to feel comfortable. Do you know what I mean? I want to have that confidence. But why is it like they don't feel that confidence
without it?
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense to me.
Can you see what and how media has distorted the word beauty and how media has made women to feel about themselves? For a woman to actually look at herself in the mirror and say, you know what, honey, you are beautiful just the way you are. It takes a woman multiple times for them to say it to themselves, for them to start believing it. Because we've been taught that that's not what beauty is and looks like.
Is it not that what we consume every day on social media?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's mostly because, look, I'm quite young. Yeah. But social media is a now thing.
Yeah.
It's a quite recent thing.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager and I was 15 years old, there was no social media. So we were just being fed by the media and what media says beauty is and what media says beauty looks like. And the moment somebody has a pimple on their face, it's like, oh my God. I mean, my little sister, who is the most beautiful girl, I think she's doing grade 10 or something. And it was that time of the month, and she had like a pimple like a breakout. And she couldn't go to school because she was like, yo, what are people going to say? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Honey!
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's insane, actually.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you see how that distortion can actually make women feel unworthy? How that distortion can make women feel like, you know what, I'm actually not enough, and therefore I have to do more for people to be able to see me. Because every single person wants to be seen. Every single person wants to be seen.
There's a lot of things that are happening on social media, and I noticed that recently. There's pornography,
Yeah.
right? Whereby you see two people naked, they're having sexual intercourse and all that. But social media has found a way to create soft porn, whereby people are showing more skin. So it's like social media is influencing people and more men and women, to show more skin. It's a little bit sad.
But it's not even that. It is that feeling of feeling unworthy. It is that feeling of feeling like I have to do more for people to see me, So, I mean, when I was in varsity, for example, when I was still finding myself, and I was still finding my own, identity and learning to love myself for me. I mean, I would wear mini skirts because I was like, this is what boys want to see. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was a deeper thing than just I'm wearing a miniskirt because, it's hot. For me, it was, you know what I mean? So now it was much more deeper than that. And I think we failed to have those conversations with people, to say, how do you feel about yourself? How are you actually? Are you okay? Were you told enough when you were young that you are beautiful, that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are an amazing being, that you are phenomenal? Because a lot of us now, we do things either to prove to people that we are enough, because we were never told that enough, or we are doing that to even prove to ourselves that, you know what, I'm actually amazing, I'm gorgeous. But I can prove to you 9 out of 10 times that a woman that feels like they are enough, they feel like they are worthy, they feel like they are beautiful just the way they are, they don't dress like that. They don't show skin.
Can you please tell me about the amount of support that your mom has given you? Because I'm sure it must have been very difficult for her.
Yeah.
But also, she had to do whatever that she had to do to give you all the support in the world.
Look, my mom, single mom, by the way, because my dad left immediately after I got burnt.
How?
Yeah, he was like, oh no, like this is just too much, and then they got a divorce. So my mom, at the time of the accident, she was a teacher by profession. So then she resigned to look after me. And at the time, including me, there were 4 of us, So she sacrificed it all, and she looked after me and my siblings. And I remember growing up, like every single time when my mom would find out that, I tried to commit suicide, she would always say to me, but why, my child? You're so beautiful.
Yeah, your mom.
You're such a beautiful woman. You're amazing, And I would always say to her that she wouldn't know what I'm going through because she doesn't have those scars. You know what I mean? Like, my mom is very beautiful. My mom is very, very beautiful, hence my siblings are also so beautiful. So, and I would be like, but you don't understand what I'm going through, But now looking back, I'm just like, she actually did, because my mom, remember this one time, I think we were just about to catch a taxi or something. And there was this lady who was like looking at me, like properly, like staring, you know. And my mom had a newspaper in her hand and she hit that lady on the head. Like, I suka weda, you know. So my mom was very aware of what I was going through, but I think she was also, there was not much that she could have done except to tell me how beautiful I am, you know. And for me, it was just like, because you don't know, like, the wrath that I have to face, you know, in reality every single day, you know. And even with psychologists, I still felt like that. You know, I still felt like there's no psychologist that's going to talk to me because, are you burnt? Do you have fingers and hands? Then what are you going to say to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't relate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know what I'm talking about. And then Jesus Christ came along. And that man, Jesus, oof, he brutalized my entire mindset. And he said to me, I'm going to tell you who you are because you don't know who you are. When you're feeling unworthy, when you are feeling like, actually, like, what am I living for? You know, how could a woman with a face full of scars live in society, you know? And he came and he said, you are the pillar of my strength, you know, for you can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. For I knew you in your mother's womb before you were even born. You know what I mean? I'm the author and the finisher of your faith. And I was like, oh, really? So then what is my purpose then? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So since you knew me before now that scripture really caught my eye. And I remember the first message that I heard ever about Christ. It was from a youth pastor, Pastor Samson. And he said to me that, do you know that everything that happens for a purpose? And I was like, yeah, I've heard that. And then he was like, so therefore, everything that God does, also he also does for a certain purpose, you know. And I was like, okay, so then I want to know what my purpose is then, you know. And then I read that scripture.
That's amazing, man.
You know.
Yeah.
And then I came across a book by Rick Warren called Purpose-Driven Life book. And that book changed my life. That book said, I don't care if you have no legs, no feet, no hands, no head. You are here for a purpose. And it's only God that knows your purpose. And you need to find that purpose from God. And the first thing that God did, he had to deal with my self-esteem. He had to deal with me. He had to deal with my identity. You know, I used to do all of these things, you know. I used to wear weaves. I used to wear makeup, you know, because for me, I was never enough, you know. And it's only when God and I went through that scrutinizing season, you know, I think it was for about like a year or two. It was very, very difficult. And I had to go through it with him, you know, and I had to find who I am. And I had to learn how to love me, you know, for him making me the way that I am, you know, for him allowing things to happen the way that they did. For me finding the importance of my being, you know. And yeah, it was in that moment where I had to learn my own beauty, my own worthiness, that I am enough, you know. As I am, the world needs me because I am enough. I am phenomenal. I'm amazing. I was created by the Most High God. Excuse me? I knew that I was relearning who I am, because who I was, I didn't like. Hence, I tried to commit suicide 3 times. I was like, I don't want to be here. You know, who's even ever going to marry me? Who's even ever going to have children with me? You know what I mean? What quality of life am I ever going to have? And those were the questions that I would have, you know? And that was because I was not feeling worthy enough. That was because I was not loving myself, that I felt like somebody else wouldn't be able to love me. You know, it was a true projection of what I was feeling, you know. And in that moment, I had to get to a point where like God was like, but I love you, you know.
Yeah.
I even know the many hairs you have on your hair. And I was like, geez, this man is obsessed with me. You know, so that means I am important. You know, so Ephesians really taught me about who I am. Yeah.
Wow, man. You know, I'm listening to your story right now, and I'm actually trying to think of it, that you actually felt rejected by the society.
Yeah.
Because you felt like you didn't look like any other person.
Yeah.
You felt like people are not going to accept you. And yes, maybe there were people that didn't accept you. But there was this one guy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who came and was like, I actually like this woman.
Yeah.
How did you meet this man?
My husband. So before my husband, so while I was in varsity,
yeah,
and I was finding my own beauty and my own, you know, like worthiness, you know, and etc. And I also want to say that I felt rejected by society because I had rejected myself. You know, how you feel about people is how you actually feel about yourself. So before my husband, I did date 2 other guys, you know. And I think with those relationships, I knew exactly what I deserved, you know. And that's when I met my husband. So when I left varsity, I moved to an apartment in Windsor. I didn't know that it was the way that it was, you know. So then the very first month I was robbed, you know. And at the time, you know, I had already started working in the meat industry. So then, you know, I called a few guys, and then they were like, why would you move to Windsor?
Yeah.
You know. And then my mom said, you know what? Let's find another, you know, apartment, but with securities, you know, and etc. And then we found this other complex. I'll mention it because we no longer stay there, Northcliffe Terrace. And we stayed there. No, so moved there on the 31st of May. The 1st of June, I was writing my exam, you know, because I wasn't really finished with like varsity. Yeah, I wasn't really finished with varsity. So then the 1st of June, I was writing my exam. So then I walked out of the apartment hoping to find somebody who will show me the taxi guy, you know, so that, you know, I can go and write my exam. And then I walked down, and then by the parking lot, here's this guy, you know, and then I'm like, hi, where do I find taxis, you know? And then the first thing he said was, hi, how are you doing? And I was like, oh my God! Woo! He's the one! You know, he has such a deep voice. And then I was like, oh, Shem, listen, you know? And then he said, no, it's fine. He works around there. because, I went to UJ. So then he was working in Auckland Park as well. Yeah. So then he dropped me off, and then he showed me where to find the taxis. And then while we were in the car, he was like, so you new here? I was like, yeah. And then he's like, oh, great. What is your unit number? And then I was like, 138. And then he's like, really? I'm at 137. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. And then he dropped me off. And then later on, he then came through. So because we were robbed, like we didn't have a fridge, we didn't have anything because everything was taken, and then he said, you know what? If you've got some stuff, you can bring them to my house. And I was like, oh, please, just for that, I'm going to go buy meat. Just because, and then and then I went to go and buy meat, dropped it off, So now on the way to him dropping me off, we spoke about what he does, and etc. Yeah. And then we're like, oh, great, we're both in the media industry.
Okay.
How insane. And then the fridge moved to, let's watch a few movies together. I mean, like, we are both in the industry, let's watch this together. Yeah. And then the rest is history.
You're analyzing.
Yeah.
And analyzing each other.
Exactly.
That's so crazy. So he happened to become your husband a few years later.
Yes. So then we dated and then a few years later, then we got married and we had 3 beautiful children. Yeah.
Have you ever asked him, looking at where you're coming from and all the struggles that you've been through, have you ever asked him that, what made you to fall in love with me?
I haven't. Look, we haven't had those types of conversations. Yeah. I think it's because of where my mindset is right now, where I'm feeling like, of course, you're blessed to have me. But I think it would be a beautiful question to ask. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a very interesting, because I get asked that question all the time.
Yeah.
Like, how did you, got to, and I try to run away from that, question. But yeah, man, I'm very inspired.
Sure, thank you.
I'm very much inspired by your story. I wonder how were you able to gain so much confidence? It's shocking, and I know that there are people in this world, all over the world, they're watching this and they're like, oh, if she can do it, I can also do it too.
Exactly.
But I think this story, your story, you are not gonna, achieve what you have achieved without God. God gave you all the strength.
Absolutely.
So how's your relationship with him now?
It's very good. Obviously, there's still ups and downs with God. I think there are seasons where you're just like, oh God.
Yeah.
But it's the type of relationship that we talk every day anyway.
Yeah.
Even when I feel like, but why didn't you do that for me? Yeah. But it also just teaches you. I've learned, quite recently, he was taking me through a point of surrender, and he said to me that you need to learn to rest in me, because I'm a Leo. So I'm a very authoritative person, I'm very bossy. I'm very, I'm a bully myself, So because I was bullied, I then became a bully. So I have a very strong demeanor. And what that also means is that I like taking charge, so I love taking charge of my own life. I also believed in that theory, Mudimu thusa ba ithusang, you know, which is actually not biblical. Can I just say it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually not biblical, but it's something that I've also recently learned, you know, when God just said, I need you to learn to rest in me, you know. And the conversation that we were having is that I took care of you from when you were born, you know. I took you to the types of schools that you went to, you know, the family that you were born. I had total control of that. And now that you feel like you have a degree, you can tell me what I must do for you, you know? And I think that really hit me because it was like, damn, you know, I've got children of my own and I'm raising these children, right? Now, one day when they feel like, you know, they are matured and, you know what I mean? Like they've got this and they've got that. And then they are going to want to tell me, mama, and it's like, it's never going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I didn't see things that way. You know, that God has always been in control of our lives. It's just that when we start maturing and we start growing up and we think that now like we are clever, then we want to take charge. And now we want to now drive the wheel, you know. And the truth is, no matter what you think you know, no matter how many relationships you think you have, how many important networks you think you have, if God wants you to get you to a place of surrender, he will get you to the place of surrender. He will strip everything away from you until you are able to get to the point where you say, okay, God, you lead me and not me leading me.
Yeah, you've got a book.
Yeah.
What Do You See?
Yeah.
Amazing book, I'm sure. Yeah, is this my present?
Yes.
I can just go through it.
Yes, that's yours.
Why did you choose to write this book?
I didn't. So, the story is actually so funny. So, I was working at Metro FM for a guy called Sibusiso Liope. I mean, yeah. Yes. Yeah. You know, on his radio show called The Sound Revival.
Okay.
The Sound Revival. I was thinking of the Sacred Space. Sorry. So then we were working there, and then Sibusiso then started telling people that I'm writing a book. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Who said I'm writing a book? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then people would like tweet me and say, where's the book? Where's the book coming out? Da-da-da. And then Sibusiso, every single Saturday without fail, he would say, the book is coming. Don't worry, guys. And I was like, guys, I haven't even started. I don't even know what to say, you know. And yeah, like the book was also another spiritual moment actually, where like God actually said to me as well that you need to write this book, you know. But Sibusiso was like the mouthpiece, you know, that like came through, and he was like, you have to write this book. The book is coming. The book is going to be coming out now in July. I was like, what? I was like, eh.
Ah, man, that's crazy. He's manifesting it. Right?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then that's how I started writing the book. I wrote the book in 2014. And then we launched it in 2016.
Yeah.
You know, this book was one of the lasting stamps of my healing, you know. I always say that my scars, they are external, but every single person has a scar within, because we all have a story to tell, right?
100%.
And this book went through my inward scars. I had to really deal with what had happened, you know, through this book, through writing this book. So it really told me to the ground, where I was back again to feeling those feelings again of that moment when I took those pills. Wow, what exactly was I feeling? I wrote those, in that book. I wrote the mental battles that I went through. I wrote the low self-esteem, moments that I went through. So that book, honestly, it's a spiritual book, It became a bestseller in 3 months, People were shocked, media was shocked, everyone, they were like, what, why,
What's happening? Yeah.
Because we always knew that Black people don't read, but with this book, you could see that people were hungry for authentic and real stories, So that's how this book came about.
How can people get the book?
The book is on Take-A-Lot. The book is also, you can also get the book through my social media pages, Instagram, Twitter, and Thread. I am at ITU_SEKHU. And then Facebook, I am Itumeleng Sekhu.
Itumeleng, thank you so much for coming. I'm very much inspired by your story.
Thank you.
I am very much inspired.
Yeah.